Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast where Manny talks and you listen, most of the time at least. But anyway, let's talk about the title sponsor of the podcast, Go Fast, Don't Suck. They make awesome match banners, match jerseys, t-shirts, hoodies, memes on the internet that are hurtful and true. Go check them out. GoFastDon'tSuck.net. Tell Bill that Manny sent you. Move on with your day. Without further ado, let's get to the guest today, Mike Sharrett, my accountability buddy. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, what's up, Manny? Good to see you.
It is good to finally see you. I mean, we've messaged back and forth long enough, but we finally get on the jingle jangle.
This has been our experience of video talking.
Yes, exactly. At some point, I'm gonna be a dick and actually like save all those and make a reel of
Oh,
all
we got to
this
do
stuff.
it. 100%. Yeah.
One of these days. But yeah, so to let each other know we're at the gym, we take this awkward elliptical run selfie video that's like at least 4 to 5 seconds long, and it's just like,
Yeah.
There's no, honestly, it'd be nice if I had like a phone mount to just clamp it onto things, but it doesn't work that well.
Yeah, just put it in front of the screen.
Yeah. Well, so if interesting enough is like the ellipticals they have at my gym, they're on the side. But like the arm bars are in the way, so it's just like,
Okay.
yeah. And then the water bottle holder is never big enough, and ugh, that's no bueno. They're okay, long as the old guys who come in like 20 minutes later than me don't get on the machine right next to me.
Right. Awkward.
Well, but there's like 7 of them. Like, why?
It's like urinal protocol in a bathroom, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not even just dudes. It's the women too. It's just like, no, I stink. I want to work out. I don't want you next to me. That's the end of my workout rant. But anyway, I guess we should start this, and because this is actually kind of fun. So Mike, who are you, and how did you get into shooting?
Yeah. Hey, hello, viewers and listeners. I'm Mike Sharrett. I live at the southern part of Area 8, down in Lynchburg, Virginia. Famous for Liberty University, I guess. That's how most people would know where Lynchburg is. I didn't go there, but my wife got her master's there. I'm a financial advisor, and I got into shooting through racing. Uh, Virginia International Raceway is a world famous racetrack. That's where Car and Driver does their lightning laps every year. If you like Car and Driver, um, I started doing high performance driving schools there and got my club race license. Became a high performance driving instructor. That's where I got picked up by Redline as my first sponsor, and they would hold Three Gun Nation matches there before Three Gun Nation folded financially. I don't know all the details there, but we'd hear, shotguns going off in the background and rifles and pistols. And a fellow USPSA shooter, Eric Wong, who's up in Maryland, he and I and some other guys that were into guns but didn't know about competition yet. We asked the facilities manager, hey, what are all these gunshots? And they're like, oh, dude, there's a 1,000-yard range here. There's a shoot house that special forces use and contract with, and basically, hey, they've got shooting ranges here around the racetrack. And so we were able to coordinate bringing, a pistol, an AR, and a shotgun, and doing kind of our own 3-gun stage on a stage. It was either at the end of the weekend before they tore it down or before they started the match. And just imagine a bunch of D-level shooters running around, you know, like, you know, just makeups and reloads and makeups and reloads, and we all kind of had our strong suit going into each one of those platforms. But that introduced us to competition, right? I mean, we'd all seen Jerry Michalak, rip through 3-gun and YouTube videos here and there, but we were not aware of how prevalent USPSA was back in 2017, 2018. And so we looked up what USPSA was and how to get started, and you had to get classified, and we stumbled into Steel Challenge as an introduction to that. And that was the only time I've ever shot Steel Challenge. It was at a range near Shadowhawk, which will not be named. And, we all showed up with our handguns and did our Steel Challenge stages and thought, 3.7 seconds on Smoke and Hope was like, we're burning it down. But the reality is there was like a 200 round count match. I brought 250 rounds. I was PayPaling people for another 250 by the end of it because I had no discipline or trigger prep or sight pick, anything. So we decided, okay, Steel Challenge is not for us. We learned about two gun because that range also held two gun matches. That was a lot more fun. And then we found USPSA at a match up in Frederick, Maryland that doesn't do it anymore. But right in Bob King's backyard, Red Hill Tactical up in Frederick, Maryland. There's
Hmm.
an indoor range called the Machine Gun Nest, and they closed down Thursday nights for us, and we put on 4 stage match, and that's really where I got started. And from there, it was make new friends, learn about new divisions, learn about better equipment, learn to cry once in a lot of cases, and that's how I started shooting.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a definite long list of things you used, you went and through. Um, but that's kind of cool. You guys doing your own three gun kind of stuff. The only thing I cringe more than D class shooters is unsafe D class shooters who just like who are oblivious to what I'm like son of a bitch, and then you're like, no, face that way.
Yeah, I definitely turned back around with the rifle, not on my feet, but towards the RO as I did a 360 out of a room in the shoot house one time, and he didn't DQ me because finger was off the trigger, but nonetheless, it was like, oh yeah, we definitely had no idea what we were doing with the margins of safety and where the muzzle was pointed in some cases.
Yeah, and I love new shooters that are when they come to like matches. It's just like I wish sometimes I didn't have to be on their squad because, as being one of the match directors, you always get the new guys on your squad to watch them, and you're just like, can I not have to worry about things today?
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. Now what division when you finally started shooting USPSA, what division did you decide to come in?
Yeah, so I think technically I shot that Steel Challenge match as production just because 10 rounds should have been enough and you didn't know any better and any gun basically fit into that. And I only had one handgun. It was my Ruger SR9C, which is my concealed carry, first pistol, that kind of thing. Once I learned about major and minor scoring, it was like, oh, limited, right? Everybody kind of starts in limited, whether it's so you could use your full magazine or so you could shoot 40 and get major power factor. So I bought off of Bud's Gun Shop a Detroit PD M&P trade-in, beat up holster wear, everything. But it was a 40 cal, and so I quickly learned to trick it out with the inexpensive parts that you could get for that, and started shooting 40. And so limited was my main squeeze for the first, I'd say 2.5 years until I started playing in PCC and slowly merged into that.
Now what drew you to 40 cal and limited back in that day? Like, was there something that's like people like, oh yeah, because 40 was big for law enforcement, or is it just like you kind of just like, oh, that looks cool?
I mean, it was 5-4-2 versus 5-3-1, right? As soon as you understood the scoring, and
Mm-hmm.
particularly at an indoor match, at least the matches we were running, everything was very close. I mean, I wouldn't say they were all hoser. There were certainly tight shots and no shoots and things like that. But as soon as you could realize the advantage of major scoring, particularly as someone that was undisciplined and whap whap at a target is a lot easier to get 9 points than 6 or whatever it was in terms of minor versus major. And since the capacity difference wasn't too huge with 140 millimeter mags, that's what drew me to 40 is just simply major scoring.
Yeah. I mean, major scoring is the way to go in my opinion because why not? Um because major is more fun. But yeah, and then you were shooting the MP 40. When did you get your Rock Island monstrosity?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. So the M&P started out as just a factory trade-in. Quickly changed out to a tungsten guide rod and reduced recoil spring. Added a front fiber sight from high vis, probably. Got a slide racker at the end, the little base plate at the end to let the firing pin channel out. From Springer, magwell, then a weighted magwell. Then I turned a flashlight into a frame weight, so I got a aluminum flashlight off of Amazon or eBay, hollowed it out, filled it with tungsten welding rods, then capped it with lead shot because that was the densest, cheapest material I could find to fill something with. And I think that weighed like 9.8 ounces underneath the muzzle, and the brass magwell was like 11. So like it was a pretty heavy gun. It handled recoil really well, but like any polymer frame with that much weight on it, it was slowly starting to deteriorate basically. So I knew I needed a metal frame, and I sold some stuff at the beginning of either 2019 or 2020. I don't remember exactly when I got my Rock Island, but I knew I wanted to get a double stack 1911 for, the mag capacity and just being a metal frame gun. And chose a Rock Island because it was economical and they run, frankly. So
Hmm.
I got a 40 cal pro ultra match or whatever the combination of those words are. And went from there and really enjoyed that as a limited gun to start.
Hmm. And then you wised up and eventually were like, oh, we'll go to open.
Yeah, yeah. Once I realized I could actually convert the gun to an open gun, that was a relatively inexpensive conversion. So, like when you think about, I don't know, the initial all-in setup was, I mean, probably an $1,100 open gun. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't very bad. Now I had borrowed a friend's plastic frame STI DVI or whatever their open gun is, and that was a lot of fun to shoot. And I was like, ooh, that capacity is nice, and you know, well, because I started in open 40 actually
Hmm.
without a comp. I just used a factory barrel, and I guess that would be like an old modified gun, is what people told me from I don't know what division that modified used to be in, but basically, frame mounted 40 cal gun, and that was
Hmm.
fun. Once I got a Fusion Firearms barrel for it, so I could use a threaded barrel and put a comp on it and use a Springer Precision that was Forrest Springfield XD 10 millimeter. Obviously, that works for 40. It's the same thing. I could not get that barrel to run. The feed ramp was a lot. It wasn't as tight as the factory Rock Island, and so I have a lot of nose dives, and I didn't know enough to really polish it and fit and finish it. Didn't really have a gunsmith locally to do it either, so that's where I went 9 millimeter with it, and kind of haven't looked back in terms of that.
Yeah, it just kind of sits on the shelf anyway now because you're all about that PCC life now.
Well, no, no, I'm actually I'm gonna shoot open this Saturday at Greater Richmond Blasters, just to get some 9 major down range, and it's I mean it's a ton of fun. Like I when I shoot PCC too many matches in a row, I actually find myself playing it more conservatively because I want to ride the success of the previous match versus push myself. And even though it's a level one, like I mean, you've talked to other people that shoot at Sir Walter Gun Club down in North Carolina. That's an
Hmm.
eight stage match that is basically a carbon copy of what Area 6 and the Carolina Classic are going to be, but they run it every month, and
Hmm.
it's really challenging, and it brings a lot of heat. I mean, Chris Tilley shows up periodically, and David Wampler drives down from Northern Virginia, and you get people from all over coming to that. And so like it's sort of like a little mini level two. And I love to take every match seriously in terms of how my match results are, but also have a lot of fun. And I found that mixing it up with other divisions is not only fun, but you can create learning opportunities if you know what you're looking for. So yeah, I'll be shooting open this week.
Oh, there you go.
I shot
But
carry optics, 2 weeks ago, so that was a ton of fun. That was my first time doing that.
yeah, that like especially when you shot at Sir Walter, it was that looked like a good match.
Oh yeah, it's always a good match.
Hmm.
I've never I mean, I might have had like a beef with one or two stages here or there, but overall, I mean, they almost do the short, medium, long course format. You don't tend to get a lot of stack up on stages. There are some long walks, and there isn't an old person squad that you kind of have to know to squad around to avoid. But besides that, yeah, it's man, what a cool match. Great blend of steel and moving targets and um, multiple opportunities to see things. So like any division can be happy shooting there if you're a good shooter.
Hmm. But yeah, I feel that the Sir Walter matches are still good, but even though they have to deal with restrictions on the walls, it doesn't seem like the match suffers at all due to
Mm-mm.
some of the concrete berms. Let me,
Right,
for my listeners, air quotes,
right.
berms.
That's right.
Please don't shoot them. But yeah, so but now you prime. I mean, how I met you is via the power of the internet, but you're primarily shoot PCC.
Right.
Um, very good shooting at PCC, especially with locals where you're shooting against your new teammate Cardi B,
Hmm.
um, and that's got to always be fun. And you're one
Todd
of the
Jarrett shows up a lot at Sir
yeah,
Walter with PCC and Larry Talbot and
yep.
yeah,
Logan will show up and hurt everyone's feelings, whatever he's wanting to shoot that day.
that's right.
But you're like the second person I know who has SBR PCCs.
Okay.
Like I think Logan's got one, but what made you want to go that route for a PCC?
Yeah, well, it was initially out of necessity. So, back when I first started shooting that Steel Challenge and the whole three gun thing, the only platform I had was, a Ruger SR9 pistol, an SBR in 5.56, and a pump 12 gauge shotgun to do, skeet and trap and whatever fun kind of stuff. So I was a very bare necessities kind of person to start. Uh, Instead of buying a PCC or building a dedicated one, I threw a Magwell adapter in my Spikes lower, which is what I first had, and did Colt mags versus Glock. I didn't have any Glocks, so like mag choice was sort of like, oh, how do I want to do that? And I figured Colt SMG mags run full auto, and while there are full auto Glocks, that's not kind of what they're known for. And so I was like, well, let me go ahead and grab Colt mags with a plus 10, and I just built it on my existing SBR platform and figured, well, I already had the lower this an SBR, so I can put the barrel length whatever I want. And I think I started with an 8.5, and it was too short. I was really chicken winging the support hand, and so I wasn't really driving the gun back in my shoulder, which hurt shooting on the move. And eventually converted it to a 10.5, and I also have an 11.5. And um, yeah, so like it wasn't like I'm gonna be that guy that's the SBR PCC shooter. It was my only AR platform was an SBR, and why not have a shorter barrel to start just from a maneuverability standpoint? And and as time went on, I've obviously had opportunities to not buy an SBR, like when I partner with Da Vinci for my DG9, but I really grown to enjoy the lighter weight, the maneuverability. There's a sexy factor, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could shoot open without a comp and a thumb rest and a magwell, and well, heck, you could do what Logan Saunders does and shoot 357 sig out of a duty gun with a light on it. Is
He just wants to flex and make everyone feel bad that they're picking up random ass brass on the ground.
that's right, yeah. So yeah, there wasn't anything like really behind it, but the momentum carried into the rest of my competitive desire to continue to shoot one.
Mm-hmm. So with it being an SBR, do you like having that heavier stock on the back end then?
Like the Da Vinci came with, let's plug Bill real quick.
Oh,
It came with this, I don't know, CTR style stock, and I've run a Magpul Mo for the most part, and I don't know, jury's kind of out on this one in particular. I haven't noticed a huge balance difference with the majority of the weight being in the middle of the gun, with whether it's a 40 round mag or an MBX 56 round or whatever it is. Although I am going away from bigger mags, but yeah, it's just just the shorter dimensions overall, and I only run it about 2 clicks back on the buttstock. That tends to be where my eye relief and support hand just is my mojo. Some people like to run it all the way back, and I get that. I started there, but as I've become comfortable with my platform, I like short and compact, and accuracy at USPSA levels. I mean, where you got people shooting 4-inch, 4 and a quarter handguns, hitting two alphas at 30 yards, and 10.5 inches isn't really much of an advantage. And so, yeah, just I enjoy that more maneuverable package.
mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now, on plenty of my rifles, I've had that stock, and I'm just like, it's too chunky. I'm like,
It is chunky.
so I think, I don't know. I was watching Jason Clark's videos recently, and he has that, it's the
Like a
PRS.
sniper.
It's
Yeah.
the PRS light stock, and I'm like, yes, that like I would swap that out for that. But
And
I have like,
That's what Cardi B just swapped to as well.
mm-hmm.
And he took his side charging handle off the Da Vinci just because he doesn't train with that as a Marine. So
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I want to keep everything streamlined. I'm gonna go to the back charging handle like I would on my duty weapon or whatever. So
I can
I
see
might be
that.
changing it out.
I can see that, but I mean also like the advantage of not even touching it, but hold it like the side racker has an extinct advantage like on table pickups because it's
Oh, for sure.
just like an open gun with a thumb rest. It's like that's the thing, so you can get your hand underneath it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice. Although I did have to learn not to loop my knuckle in too far, because this perfectly machined edge.
Mm-hmm.
There's two arteries that run along your knuckle right there. And I slid it open at the Carolina Classic last year. And like, I'd never slit an artery before. Like, it was like instant red hand covered in blood. It's on my shoes. It's on the gun. The RO's like, did he shoot himself? But it happened during the unload and show clear. And so yeah, you got to be careful with the side charger, but a little bit of practice and you kind of know how to avoid that mistake.
Yeah. Well, darn it for being perfectly machined.
I know, darn.
Right? But
What a shame.
yeah. One in a million, right? It's one of those
Oh,
things
for
like,
sure.
it's like, and
Yeah,
then you get
it's not Da Vinci's fault. That was my fault.
right. So were you able to, I know you'd gushed, your hands gushing at this point. Were you able to clear the gun and then flag it, or did you just hand the gun off to somebody to go get fixed?
I'm sitting here trying to figure out what's going on because like it didn't hurt,
Mhm.
but it was just this flood of bright red blood. And I'm like, hey RO, can you hold this? And he's like, I'll flag it for you. So I was like, all right, you do the unload and show clear. And I'm like, hey, you talk to one of my buddies, can you get me some paper towels out of my bag? And you always think like when you normally cut yourself, you pat it and then you get to take a look at what happened.
Yeah,
But
you didn't.
as soon as I took it off, it's like my whole hand was red again. I'm like, this isn't good. Actually David Wampler's brother Bobby Russ, he's like, hey Mike, I got some tape, hold on. And we basically threw a paper towel on it and taped the crap out of it, and it held. And I was like, all right, cool. So I shot the rest of the match 9-fingered. I was just kind of hanging off my hand guard. And I think about an hour and a half later, with 3 stages to go, I was like, well, surely it's dried by now and I can kind of redress, right? Because you could see, dried blood at the ends of the paper towel and everything. And so we slowly undid it. And as soon as the pressure came off, it was the same thing, hand covered in red blood. And I'm thinking, I'm 2 hours and 45 minutes away from my house in Salisbury, North Carolina on a Saturday. What's an urgent care visit going to be like? How long is it going to take? Do I need to get another hotel night here? My wife's counting on me being home for support tomorrow morning with my kids, and all these things going through my head. And I'm like, bag it back up. And so, we just put pressure on it. I drove all the way home. Thankfully, by the time I got home, my wife helped me cut it off. It was healed up and we could redress it. But at the match, on that second reopening, I was getting lightheaded, thinking, oh man, like I don't want to be a danger to myself or my fellow competitors around me by passing out with a rifle in my hand or whatever. But it all worked out okay, thankfully.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and luckily enough, you had people to help manage you, so that's always a good part.
Yeah, it would have been a challenge training by myself. So I do train by myself. I mean, I carry a tourniquet on my belt. I've never used one. I understand how it works in theory, but like, yeah, like, that kind of situation on my own, it probably wouldn't end any differently, but it certainly makes you think like, man, when you're out there live firing on your own and, you're a while from other people, that kind of changes maybe risks you take on speedy draws or, whatever it might be that could end in, something catastrophic.
Right. Yeah. I totally see that because I've got plenty of medical kits. I've got them in the car, got them in my trucks, got it on my range bag. It's a very extensive one hanging off the outside of the range bag. It used to be in, but then I was like, people don't want to go through your shit when something like that happens. I'm like, so it's hanging on the outside of the car.
Mags, mag brush. Where's this damn kit? Right.
Well, it's the only thing that's like the inside of my bag is blue, but like the red, but it's zip tied to the outside, and so it's pull the thingy, and all the med shit fucking flies out in like a pouch, and it's like, just bring it over here, it'll be
nice.
fine. But I mean, medical gear is definitely important, I feel, and a lot. And not that clubs don't take it seriously, but there needs to be more medical equipment on the bays. I feel like not just having one sitting in the middle of the bay, in the middle of the ranges, right? It's like maybe every other one would be okay, and you bring it out on match day because people are going to be there. But I definitely don't like. I know that training by yourself is it has to happen, but I'm almost like, hey, you want to go train? Like, at least then there's another guy to be able to call out if something actually happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we've talked about your cool SBR PCC. You said you're going to go away from bigger magazines. Why was that?
So as I've been training individually with David Wampler, he's what's great is I'm not just training with his experience. I'm training with his experience, training with other world-renowned coaches. He just, got done with Eric Griffell. He's done Ben Stoger. Um, he's trained with so many different people. I'd lose track if I tried to name them all. But one of the things he and I have talked about one-on-one in training is how like some instructors kind of have their thing, like, hey, here's the this move, or like I've got this gimmick, or it's not necessarily a gimmick, but it's like something to differentiate them in their training. And I think that's great. I think any kind of training and any sort of way to set yourself apart as an instructor or a trainer or coach is beneficial, not only for your brand, but people remember it. But the way David has been with me, and and kind of how I've interpreted it is he's much more of a Bruce Lee, in the sense that, like, Bruce Lee wasn't just a kung fu guy or a karate guy. He took the best of everything and the most efficient of everything, and morphed it into how he practiced and trained martial arts, and how he was a really great, obviously, film martial artist, as well as studio teacher, and everything else that he did outside of film work. And that's how David Wampler is. And um oh man, I totally lost my train of thought. What was your question going into that? Because I know I have a point here.
Shorter mags. Why go to
Yes,
shorter
yes, yes.
PCC mags?
Yeah, so for example, if I go onto a stage with 56 rounds, what would that encourage me to do versus discourage, right? Like, so if I went into a 32 round field course, even with steel and a swinger, and I started with a 32 round mag, what do I have to do? I have to be disciplined. I have to get my alphas. I have to make my shots count. I can't just throw three at something and move on. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you've ever thrown three at something and moved on, but they usually tend to be three Charlies, not, two alpha and a Charlie, or an alpha two Charlie. It tends to be this little circle of Charlies. And as I've started being more disciplined with my mag size for the stage, I mean, I always allow for makeups, just because I'm still fallible. I'm human. I'm an A-class shooter. If I'm swinging over to a tux, I'm liable to put one in the black right off the A zone, or fill in the blank. A makeup on steel because I'm moving and the buttstock moves as I'm walking, whatever it is. So I never go in, at capacity like some really confident shooters that I shoot with do, and that's great that they can. I want to get there, but having 56 in the mag, what's the point at the end of the day, right? So like I'm leveling up on a mental level as a shooter, where coming into a 32 round field course with steel and swingers, 40 in an ETS mag, or something with an extension, should be sufficient. It should be more than sufficient, right? I should never be going to slide lock on the last shot with all these extra makeups, because every makeup is an extra 15th of a second, a quarter second. Having to go back to something for a makeup is an extra half second, and all these things start to add up. And I'm starting to understand that, particularly on a major match level. And so, like, I just ordered. Unfortunately, MBX isn't selling their Glock metal mag extensions separately. I asked them repeatedly, and they're like, "Sorry, man, we don't do that yet." So I ordered a 140 millimeter mag with their 3-inch extension, not to run that as is, but to take that 3-inch and put it on my existing 170 that has the big 7-inch extension. And I'll kind of cross the two over and have kind of two big sticks that, I won't really ever top off. But I do like the durability of a metal mag versus a plastic mag, for many obvious reasons. But yeah, that's why I'm not going to be running giant, drum mags, the 50 round or 60 round P mag, whatever it is. Like, I don't see a point for that. Like, I could see a point in a falling steel match where you've got 30 or 40 pieces on one stage. Great. Okay. That's a different animal though, so if I'm going to be planning a well thought out USPSA, medium to long course, I should be planning accountability for my shots, not the ability to just throw extras at something, because ultimately the guy that's going to be accountable with each one of their shots is going to beat me every time if we're running the stage in the same steps and everything else. So
Right, and I definitely understand that. Well, and you have, even to bat with that, you have less things that could go wrong with a shorter mag than with one of
yeah,
those giant mega dick things that are like as
yeah,
long as your rifle.
yeah, it's longer than my rifle. Well,
Yeah,
almost.
but spring bind up is a true thing, I feel, and when as soon as you start messing with that, and it's the possibilities of shit going wrong happens very quickly. But and that's a nice thing too, just to be more accountable. You want to be, stop. You don't want to be sloppy. So I think the accountability is a huge thing, and letting you progress. And God, what I was gonna say another fancy word, but it escapes me because I'm not a fancy person. It's okay.
Two simple guys talking shooting.
Exactly, it's how it is. But yeah, so it's nice to see, you're working through that. I like the ideology behind it, which makes sense. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit and only put 32 rounds in my magazine and
Right.
and hope to God that it works. But
Right.
I see for the audio listeners, I'm sorry, but it's okay. I see you have an ETS mag in that gun at the moment. Is that a preferable thing, or is it because they're cheap, or what?
So that two of them came with the Da Vinci when I got it, and they've been fine. I mean, I watched the feed lips for cracks, which is what everybody says to look for, but I haven't had a single malfunction with them, not even in practice or training. A side benefit is, in fact, last time, I mean, it was 2 weeks ago, I think Wampar and I were here. We were looking at it, and you could see all the little brass shavings just from reloading. I guess the casualty of reloading is you get little brass shavings on your ammo and everything, and you can see when the mag's getting dirty. So like, there's a little bit of upside to that. But I don't know. I haven't had any problems with it. I do plan to go into all my majors this year with only MBX mags to start, and hopefully won't need any changes. I do carry some Magpul 17 round and a 27 round on my belt as that oh crap moment. Should something just explode, or I realize, okay, there's a jam, it's quicker to bail on this mag and go with something new and move on. Instead of fight, because I've been out on a stage, and I mean, and this happened with a pistol too. It's like, oh, no extra mags. Well, now I got to start flicking rounds off the top of the mag to figure out where the bind is, and let me keep going and hope I have enough. Do I need to engage a target versus put two on them? So I do carry backups, but I'm going to be starting with MBX metal mags on every stage from now on.
Yeah, and just you get to flex on everybody. Just like I tell everybody with a Glock, it's like, hey, you need an MBX metal mag because you need to flex on the other Glock people.
That's right.
But there's nothing wrong with that either. But that's good. So what goals do you currently have in shooting?
Let's see. Personally, I honestly, I think I missed my best opportunity to go to nationals last year. I should have found a way to make that work. I am probably going to make master in PCC this year, based on major matches finishes alone. My next 82% or higher classifier, whether it's at a local or a major match finish, will have something roll off, and I will roll into master class. So making master is a goal, but being able to compete competitively as one is really what the next step is. So I'm thinking ahead. I haven't really been thinking as an A shooter for a while, but I've been finishing major matches as an A shooter. So having to deal with kind of the discrepancy in the classifier system, which is something that we could talk a long time about in terms of like, there are clearly paper classified people, and then there are major match finishing classified people. And I want to let my major match results really define who I am as a shooter. So I may have had like an 87% level 2, and it was something with maybe only like 13 or 16 PCC shooters. So like, that's kind of an anomaly. But when it comes to area 8, area 6, a lot of the state level matches with heavy PCC presence, Justine showing up, and Chris Barrett at North Carolina sectional last year. I'm finishing as an A level shooter of the first place PCC shooter. And so, I don't feel bad about showing up as an A class at a level 1 and beating M's and G's. They beat themselves, honestly. They're making mistakes and I'm not. But I've never thrown a single shot on a classifier ever. I can look at anybody in the eyes and tell them that. But I do realize that soon I'll probably end up as a master. And once I'm a master, I want to compete well as master. And so right now I don't do things like dry fire. I know I should, but I think a lot of A class people are like, well, whatever, I'll just show up and shoot, and level ones are scored practice. And yeah, so that was a real weird tangent around. I want to make master and compete well at master. If for some reason, and I don't see it happening, I could get to nationals this year and still be an A. Uh, take an A nationals would be a real feather in my cap. That may have happened last year. I've got a real good A level shooter in Area 8, and he finished second in nationals. And he and I have been neck and neck at a lot of matches, like beating each other by 1% on the overall match. Well, to be clear, he's beaten me by like 1% but I do also want to. I'm gonna get. I was hoping to have this start in January, but getting insurance and legal paperwork all drawn up has prevented it. I do have an Instagram page called TDT_PCC, which is for Team Da Vinci training. One of the things that the owner of Da Vinci and I have talked about is putting on training classes, starting in my area and maybe Area 6 as well, Area 8, Area 6, and then having the curriculum available for all successful Team Da Vinci shooters around the country to put on training classes in their area. And kind of the long vision as a CEO would be to actually have Da Vinci PCCs available for all the students that are training. So obviously it's a sales funnel, right? Like you come to a class, you get your coaches, your training coaches are people that have taken home hardware from level 2s, level 3s, and nationals, which would be the training credentials for those coaches. By no means are we David Wamplers and Tom Castro's in terms of like the training and that depth of experience, but the goal would be to teach PCC shooters how to train, not necessarily coach them, not necessarily make observations about what they're doing, how they're holding something, but to teach them how to train themselves. And that's been my biggest walk away from training with David Wampler one-on-one, is I know now how to go make an hour at the range worth my time. It isn't just, oh, I burned something down. Oh, I burnt it down faster. Oh, I'm not accountable for that no shoot or that mic. There are systems in place that you can use to train, and any division can do it. It's just that we're trying to sell PCCs for Da Vinci. So we'd certainly take pistol shooters if they wanted to. And realistically, I think between getting all the waivers drafted and written up, and then getting insurance, and then to your point earlier, I think when we were off the air talking, getting clubs and boards to approve classes, certainly I'd be visiting classes, clubs that already have classes. Tim Herron, I've taken his class at Shadowhawk. He does them at the range at True North, pretty close to Sir Walter. Greater Richmond Blasters at Cavalier Rod and Rifle Club. I already know that what their funnel is going to be. And so, we would try to piggyback off of clubs that are already used to having classes. But I would really love to see the PCC division grow through more PCC shooters buying Da Vinci's, because I know my classifiers have gone through the roof based on the gun. I've shot some pretty nice open guns. My Rock Island is a great open gun, but man, holding an Atlas, holding an STI, something that's hand built, the return to zero is just different. And that it's the same for the Da Vinci, because I've built my other two PCCs that I have with different buffer systems. I've kind of tried them all. Low development with my Summit City Bullets. They're my other gun sponsor. It really makes a difference to have a really well built rifle, and so to continue to be part of Team Da Vinci and wanting to see that grow and see myself grow as a shooter, I can only see dividends and benefits for being a part of getting that program off the ground for myself as well as all my competitors.
Right. And yeah, it's a nice idea, and it's a nice way, honestly, to be able to build brand recognition, other than just major matches, actually getting out in people's faces and hands to be able to play with them and train with them and be like, oh, that's a lot nicer than my 10 million pound JP or my home built rifle that's
my Frankenstein Aero Precision with, yeah, exactly. Because that's really where I'm coming from. I could barely shoot above an 88% classifier, even on the brand new ones. And a month ago, I shot a 94.97 on a 16-year-old classifier.
mm-hmm.
That's a shot up classifier, and I just let the gun rip and do what I do, and I didn't think I was doing anything special. I was like, oh crap,
Yeah.
okay, this is the sweet gun.
Yeah. Now, did it have like a bunch of reloads or was it?
It was uh it was an '03 series or it was an '06 series. It was last amended 16 years ago, but it was the one with the big like door in front of you in the shooting box, and you got to engage three on one side with a fourth in the middle, and then three on the other side with maybe the fourth on the other side. It's got no shoots.
Okay.
I could look it up, but that's people are familiar with those,
Right. Yeah. So you gotta, and you're fighting the Bianchi barricade, and yeah.
right? So pop 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 pop.
Mm-hmm.
Drop two Charlies, did it in a competitive time. Turns out to be almost a grandmaster run, so that was cool.
That is
But
pretty cool.
it was all a gun. I mean, I can honestly say, like, my other guns haven't done that.
Right.
Good enough.
Yeah, well, and especially probably with the ammo tuning to it, and the machining on it, and I mean the home built gun is for the guy who's a tinkerer who doesn't like to just who likes to piddle dink with something and like, well, I'm going to try this spring now or this trigger, and I'm not saying you can't swap triggers on a Da Vinci because everyone's got a personal preference on whatever they like as a trigger, but
Right.
it's almost one of those things of you set it up how you want from the factory for the most part too, though, because you can.
Right.
I've stalked to the website enough.
Yeah, yeah.
I just can't make it over to that buy button.
Well, once you shoot one, that decision gets a lot harder. That's almost everybody I know that's bought one has either known that I've been shooting them, they've squatted with me, they've seen how it runs, and then they're at a local where they can try a gun out, and all of a sudden they're shooting one, they're going, okay, I need one of these. And they're already shooting PCC, obviously, but
Mhm.
we've had converts from other divisions as well. So
Right. Well, even before I went to open, I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a PCC. But yeah, open life for me. I don't know. I like pistols, and not that PCC is bad, even though it gets a bad rap. It's just I don't know, pistols, 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 pistols. But it's also one of those things too. It's like if you had a bunch of open shooters on your squad, and you're like, why am I the only carry optics guy on my squad? And then you're like, yeah, I need to convert. And that's kind of how it happened. It'd be the same thing if there's a bunch of PCC shooters at your area too, right? Or at your local matches, and be like, yeah. At least and then the rules did get a little bit nicer for PCC shooters, right? So recently with the rule update, it's not super stringent on, you can go mess at your dot over there at the side berm, and well, don't quote me for verbatim, but it did get easier. I did know it does get easier on PCC.
oh, see, I wasn't aware of all that. I know I don't even telescope my butt stock until I make ready. I won't dial up the dot. Like I've been super conservative about that, but that is nice to know it got a little bit easier there.
Yeah, you'll have to go read about that, so then you can know what you can and can't do now.
Yeah, I should do that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, I'm assuming you have a side canted dot.
Yeah.
Now, is your side mounted dot the same as your primary dot?
No, in fact, it must have been, I think Vortex Razors must have had their patent run out because now these things are on eBay. Sealy, whatever. They fit razor footprints, and so I got a little, Monstrum 45 throw, and for as little as I use it, it certainly serves. Oh, my dot was on. Interesting. It's great, and what I love is I shoot the laser periodically, and so when you have a laser and a 45, you sight your laser to your primary, you sight your 45 to the laser, and you don't have to use any ammo to sight in the backup sight.
There you go. That is quite beneficial, right?
So even if you didn't want to run a laser, buy a $30 laser off of Amazon, and you can use it to sight in your other stuff and any other platform without having to burn ammo.
That is beneficial.
Hot tip.
Mm-hmm. But that is cool. So yeah, I know some people who are like, no, I want my primary to be the same as my offset or my whatever I just said. But yeah, so it's definitely cool to see those little fun tidbits of lasers and optics, and that's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. Now you have two Da Vinci's by now, don't you? Or are you still flexing with
Uh,
this one?
just flexing one SBR, yeah, and another one's down the road somewhere.
Yeah. Now is it just tricky one of those? Can you even buy it? Well, I guess you'd have to buy one and then convert it into an SBR, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I've talked my way into all three of my sponsors,
Mhm.
starting with Redline Oil at the racetrack. I've been running their oil since like 2003, and just being around some of their marketing people. Long story short, I talked my way into being a sponsor with them, even though I'm not racing cars. There's a whole market of high performance driving school students, which outnumber the racers at any event by at least 3 to 1. And same with Da Vinci is I started Instagram messaging them like, hey, I'd love to talk with y'all about getting on your team. Shot with so and so on the team, really enjoyed them. Then hey, here's Area 8 results. Hey, here's a Sir Walter PCC win. And then the owner was like, hey, David, he's awesome. He's like, yeah, yeah, let's talk. We spent about an hour 10 on the phone, just get to know each other because I want to know who I'm getting in bed with, so to speak. Same situation with Tony at Summit City Bullets. Is we talked several times before we decided to make an agreement and going in together as a sponsorship, but um, in terms of like, with David and Da Vinci, he's like, well, what kind of specs you want on your gun? I'm like, well, I want an SBR. He's like, well, all right, what barrel length? I'm like 10.5. He's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna send your completed lower to your FFL, and I'll send the upper to you, and you can run the upper on your existing lowers until you get your SBR done. But before I'd even, well, I mean, I think it's okay before I'd officially accepted the transfer, I had the serial number, form one, boop, off to the ATF, to get that whole process started so I could get as much lead time on that. And, we let it sit about a month before we announced that I was actually joining the team, even though I was on the team unofficially. But yeah, I mean, if anyone else out there is listening to this and wants to run a Da Vinci like I do and wants to run it in a short barrel rifle configuration, the owner will work with you to make sure you have all the information that you need to go on the ATS forms and form one it and get that process rolling and get your fingerprints in if you run on trust or whatever your deal is, like mine.
Mhm.
So you can be running one legally, and then if anyone has questions about how to travel with SBRs out of state, 5320.20s is the form you have to file. They're free. You can PDF them and email them in, and they come back in about 2 weeks, and you can run them for a whole year cycle. So I've got April 1st to March 31st of 2024 so that I can travel to pretty much every state on the East Coast as well as nationals if I want to with my SBR, because you can't just cross state lines. That's a whole new legal barrier. It's certainly easy to work around. It's not as easy as, traveling with a handgun and knowing what the state laws are to drive through Maryland with a handgun in the trunk versus, a state that has concealed carry reciprocity with whatever your state is, and whatnot. But it's not as complicated as maybe people worry about. So
Yeah, and I can definitely see that people do worry about that, but it's as you say, it's not as difficult as they make it out to be. You just gotta be due diligent, I guess, and take care of that kind of stuff. Um, which is kind of cool. So, you know, how many states have you taken it to so far?
I've competed well with my Da Vinci. Uh, I've actually only competed with it in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I my first attempt at the tax stamp went 110 days and then got disapproved. And it was because, unlike the 6 stamps beforehand, because I've built my own suppressors and I've SBR'd other stuff. And so I'm
Hmm.
very familiar with, I've got 14 tax stamps. So I'm very
Hmm.
familiar with the system. And so when it came to the Da Vinci, I did what I always do, which is use card stock in my own printer and print off my own fingerprint cards. And then I print myself and then I mail them in. Well, for whatever reason, the PDF that I had cut off the very, very bottom of the fingerprint card. So it didn't say left 4, right 4, left thumb, right thumb. So I hand wrote that in. I mean, anybody that knows fingerprint cards would know, like, okay, that's a left hand, left thumb, right thumb. But I went ahead and did that just to show. And they declined it because I wrote on the fingerprint cards. And I'm like, okay, well, can I just send in a new set of prints? Like, I've got actual fingerprint cards from a local police friend of mine that brought some by. And they're like, nope, refund and process. And I'm like, come on, it's been 110 days. Like, is this the new wait time? Like, I don't know, I have to wait, another whatever, right? So anyway, they refund me. I get legit fingerprint cards, print myself again. I file for the stamp January 1st. I waited until January 17th to mail them. I was just it was crazy start of the year and just didn't get by the post office. And anyway, mailed them January 17th. Stamp came back February 3rd. So like super quick, what I'm used to. But yeah, yeah. So long story short is I've been competing with my Aero Precision lower with the Da Vinci upper and the Shield roller delay buffer, and the trigger is just a different lower. So only in Virginia so far, but I'm prepared to go to Sir Walter in April. I'll be up at Maryland State with it. I haven't had an opportunity to shoot at Shadowhawk, but I've got paperwork for that. I'll be at Area 8 in Pennsylvania, North Carolina for Area 6 and North Carolina Classic and all that kind of stuff. So
That's
it's
pretty
all
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many majors other than nationals are you planning on hitting this year?
Well, I'm not planning on nationals, but I'm really wish listing nationals.
Right.
So I've got 6 majors on my list. First is going to be Delmarva, which is in Richmond this year. Usually it's at Shadowhawk. So I'll get to do Delmarva in April. Then I've got Area 6 in May, and then I'll start getting the dates wrong. But up next, I think, is Maryland State, then Area 8 in August, then North Carolina, the Carolina Classic, and Virginia State are towards the end of the year. So I'll be shooting 6 majors between 2 areas, the sectional with Delmarva, and then Virginia, North Carolina, and Maryland State.
Oh, there you go. That's not a bad list. And then hopefully in September you can also squeeze in nationals because that's how.
That's my hope. Yeah, it's just a long drive. It's it's 10 hours, and then all the days, and then all the time back, and family, and just kind of weighing that what's important. So it's like I really want to compete on that national scale because majors are like my thing. I don't feel pressure, and so like the greater the reward for a major, the better I perform. But it's still a time commitment. Is really what it is. It's not a money thing. It's just a time commitment.
Right. Yeah, and I can see that. Like I was hoping to go to nationals this year, but I just don't have the time. It's one of those, you run out of vacation days and you don't really want to drive. You don't really want to do it one of those where you drive and you show up to the match and then you like first time walking the stage is when you're on the stage kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I got to be there the day before.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody for stopping in the middle of this awesome conversation with my buddy Mike Sharrett of Team Da Vinci and my workout accountability buddy. But we got to plug the sponsors because we need to, and it's part of my job. So I guess we're going to start with Go Fast Don't Suck. Go check them out, gofastdon'tsuck.net. Their title sponsor of the podcast. They do great work supporting matches, supporting shooters, making awesome, funny memes that you need to go check out. Gofastdon'tsuck.net. Tell them Manny sent you. Don't forget, the hardest working man in our shooting sport, Hunters HT Gold. Brian is fantastic. He's got awesome products. And he loves you and he wants to see you at a match. So go see him, go try some demos. It'll be great. And I think you'll love it. Also, don't forget, run over to dominatedefense.com. Use the code Manny Talks 10 for 10% off a Mach 1 speed belt combo. The best belt in the business. No, nothing against that at all. They're freaking awesome. The ratchet's great. The belts are awesome, inner and outer. Go get one. Dominatedefense.com. Also, run to divtech.com. divtechshop.com. Go support Nathan Dively's company, DivTech. Go get an awesome 3D printed magnet for your rig. They're awesome. They're stronger and shinier than a double alpha magnet. Also, don't forget Outdoor Dynamics manufactures ammunition so you don't have to. They pull the handle so you don't have to. Just now, since I'm recording this, we have a discount code for you podcast listeners, and that is the code Manny, MANNY, to get you some money off your order. So go order it. Some librarians, some missiles, some what are the really old librarians, missiles? I should really know this. The Andersons, yes, the 125 grain Andersons. Some 9 major because he's making it. Go check it out. It's good in open gun and bull guns for sure. More testing to follow on other guns. But anyway, go check it out. Outdoor Dynamics. Use the code Manny. Save yourself some money. We can't forget my friends Tony and Jackie over at laughandload.com, the hosts of the Pew Time podcast. Go check out all their merch. They hold my official Manny Talks Shooting t-shirt. So go pick one of those up right away because they're freaking fantastic. So go check them out. We also can't forget Tim Herron, timherronshooting.com. Go get on his class schedule. Go find a class near you. Get in it before it fills up because it will fill up because that's just how it goes. We can't forget my friends over at Range Panda, Eric Steiner and Gianni Giordano. They are awesome parts of the sport. They sponsored the Michigan Sectional. I really can't thank them enough for all the support they do for me and the shooting sports in general. So go check them out. Top level shooters with top quality products that you need and want. Don't forget Chili Custom Gunworks or ccgunworks.com. Go get yourself a metal grip for your staccato. Once they're back in stock, obviously, because Matt's working as hard as he can, but he needs to make more grips. But anyway, next limited open gun you want to get built, tell your builder, Chili Custom Gunworks parts, because they are the finest. Also, Targets USA, guys, manufactures the finest steel targetry on the planet. I say it. Steve Anderson says it. It has to be true. They sponsored the South Carolina sectional. They were there. They sold product, and they made you want it because they were there. But anyway, check out all those guys. And those are the partners of the podcast. I appreciate them all, every single one of them. Without them, it would not be as fun and impactful without them. So anyway, check them out. Let's get back to this awesome conversation with my buddy, Mike Sharrett. I mean, I guess I want to break into talking about, how we even got to know each other in the first place, because it kind of grows and makes things a little more interesting. But you and I, I think, I don't know, did you, I must have put my thing out there first.
Oh yeah.
I put, if anyone hasn't seen this on my Instagram, I took some pictures of myself and posted that on the internet and say, I'm tired of being a fat motherfucker who, is overweight and unhappy with themselves. And I don't know if it was that day or the day later, you messaged me and was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's be accountability buddies. And I think it was by end of the week, we needed to have memberships in hand. Or
we had a plan in place pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And which I super appreciate that is because one, I don't have locally to me, there's nobody around me to kind of push me to do those things. So it's nice to have the online accountability buddy to be like, yeah, we need, you still, we're going, we talk about it. And I've enjoyed it. Although the last 2 weeks this is recorded 3/12/23, everyone. So the last 2 weeks work has been crazy. I usually go work out in the mornings at 4:35 in the morning, but due to work having to go into work early or family and life issues, I was just like, no, I need to get back in. So I'm telling you, I'm going tomorrow because
all right.
I miss it. And honestly, I do. I like going in there. I don't like seeing wrinkly old dudes, but the old guys at the gym are like they hog in the sauna or something. It's like, can you move the fuck over there? There's a one dude, it's always the weird guys who's like, I'm gonna sit in the middle of the bench. I'm like, no, sit on the corner. And and the sad part isn't in the one sauna at the gym. In the gym is terrible phone reception, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So if your podcast isn't if my podcast I'm listening to isn't far along enough, it'll stop. And I was like, son of a bitch. Then you're sitting there for however long. But yeah. So yeah, Mike and I, we met via the internet. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
Instagram. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and honestly it's nice, the accountability. I know my workouts, but what are you entailing on yourself when you go? I know we always do the elliptical, but
my so I've got to work around chronic low back pain from a car accident in 2017 and then a second one in late 2021. So I've got some areas of my body I've got to be careful with, and that was really one of the driving factors of contributing towards wanting to get into this, is seeing your post, seeing that that honesty. Hey man, here's what I look like without a shirt on, and I'm not happy about it. And I was feeling the same way, and I was feeling weak, not like I need to be able to punch somebody out, but I don't feel like I could, if something came up. I know I can defend myself and my family if I've got a handgun on me, and I will outdraw the next guy from concealment because I practice that. But that's not a situation I want to be in either. So being able to help around the house, whether it's pick up my kids, which I really can't, at least not without lifting from my legs, that kind of thing. I wanted to feel stronger. I wanted to look better. every January 1st, I've been like, this year's the beach body year, right? Like
Right.
just like anything, right? And instead I'm just like, well, I guess I'm wearing a rash guard again and just covering everything up so I don't have to worry about sunscreen. It's easier and I don't look fat. I'm not embarrassed. So and like I'm like skinny fat where like it's like, okay, you look normal with the t-shirt on, but without it, I'm not super proud. So, wanting to make that change and inspired by your honesty and, knowing you had a podcast and knowing you were involved with USPSA on a sectional level. And it's like, all right, you know what? Let me reach out, because like, what's the worst that can happen? You can be like, no, it's cool, man. I've got like this whole support system and this is just kind of part of documenting that. Like, well, then great, whatever. But, you were cool pretty much like every USPSA shooter I've ever reached out to, like I've competed against people that I've never met. Like
Mhm.
Rich Franco is a big 3-gun shooter, but he also shoots PCC and he's A class because he doesn't have enough classifiers to to be master or grandmaster because he's finishing like area 8 at 95%, like Delmarva at 90. Like he is a wicked good rifle shooter, like a lot of PCC guys are, which frankly, I think limited optics is going to be overrun by 3-gun and 2-gun guys, and people that are in carry optics that think it's going to be a heavier carry optics gun are going to get surprised. But nonetheless, I've never met Rich, but we've been talking online, like we're like, hey man, what's going on in your life? Hey, what's new? Hey, this is funny. Hey, that's cool. Like, it's neat. And so that's how you and I met, is like, hey, let me just reach out. And knowing that someone to be accountable to is a pressure in the back of my mind, which drives me to the gym, feeds that desire to go. And I mean, we've talked offline, building up to this podcast. It's like, oh man, I miss it. It's been busy for me. And for me, I've been sick the last 15 days and I cannot go to the gym, phlegm and all the things and body aches and fever. So, knowing that we both want to go and knowing that particularly you're going to go first thing in the morning and I'm gonna have to wake up and see the video of the
Yes.
back and forth. It's like, well, damn it, I gotta get going. I gotta get my stuff together. So, yeah, that's how we met, and I've really enjoyed kind of build my own routine that doesn't feel monotonous, that mixes it up. That I'm specifically cross training for USPSA derivative benefits from the workouts, and it's been great.
hmm Yeah, I mean, probably like I try to go 3 days a week, as we've talked. And the listeners probably they haven't heard this, but Mondays is arms day, arms and chest kind
Mhm.
of stuff, arms, chest, shoulders. Wednesday. Well, I'm sorry, Wednesdays is lower body day, so it's legs and. I mean, but I always start with the cardio because that's kind of what wakes me up. Because
Mhm.
if I didn't have to wake up on the elliptical, I would, now I got the hiccups. I don't know. I don't understand this, but
It happens.
if I didn't start up on the elliptical, it'd be just a drag ass thing. It'd just be like, oh, okay, got to go do legs now. I got to go warm up a little bit,
Right, right.
and then Fridays is always like it's either a catch. It's either a catch all day, but it's supposed to be really like a core cardio day.
Hmm.
But the where you can kind of do the cardio stuff is there's always somebody over there, and it's just like it's not enough room, and it's like I'll go find something else to do that benefits some other aspect of something else.
Right.
But which that's why I wish my gym was a little bit better at bigger at what it could do. But luckily
Yeah.
enough, there's no gym bro mentality of the guys just like lifting weights without shirts, and it's just like
The guys yelling while they're benching or squatting, like that's awkward. No one wants to be around that.
yeah. I mean, I'd be intimidated if with Logan in the gym.
Oh
I'm not.
gosh.
It'd be like I'm gonna go sit in the corner and cry because I don't even want to think about trying to look at one of those weights.
That's right. Yeah, no, I've kind of found my own routine, and it's so I've had two personal trainers in the past. One was back in like 2004, and one was I don't know, 2012. So like I know how to work out. I understand, what's detrimental, what's beneficial, what's sort of a waste of time. But I also will get bored easily, and so like I've my routine, which was kind of your original question, was not just how we met, but I'll warm up anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes on the elliptical. Some days I'll push it 20, maybe 30, but really it's just like low intensity cardio, which is really good for burning fat, but it also gets you loose and warmed up for whatever you're going to do. So, I try to do the arms thing, just to, just to get all the joints moving. My YMCA, which is our downtown YMCA, has 5 racquetball courts, and I tend to work out in the middle of the afternoon, kind of 2 to 3, that kind of area before my kids get out of school, kind of a late lunch break kind of thing. And there's nobody at the racquetball court, so I bring my own racquetball and racket, and I'll set an alarm on my phone for 16 minutes to account for kind of tying shoes and getting loose and everything. But I'll basically run around and chase a racquetball for 15 minutes as a medium to high intensity level cardio. And when I kind of get gassed, I'll sit down and do crunches and maybe some kind of jumps around the area, just kind of mix it up, keep the cardio going. After that 15 minutes or so is up, I'll hit a specific weight training group and I'll rotate. I'll do buys, tries one day, I'll do chest back one day, I'll do legs one day. I make sure to do abs throughout all of it because I think that's a very regenerative muscle once it's used to getting worked out. So I'll be throwing medicine ball slams in between sets of something, or drop it down to crunches, timed planks, things like that. And it's nothing super fancy, but what's nice is it all of a sudden I'm at the gym an hour to an hour 15 minutes, and I'm not bored, and I don't feel like it's a routine because I'm kind of mixing it up throughout the way. And I've got Bluetooth headphones on and a good trained Pandora station. And I'll always finish up with at least 10 minutes in the hot sauna just to get a good sweat and keep that sweat going. And I've got some great supplements from Arbonne, which my wife used to be a full-time network marketing consultant for Arbonne. A great pre-workout, which it's funny, like I drink it and I'm just like, whatever, like, okay, it's like an energy drinkish kind of thing. But then I find myself not getting tired through the workout. And that's something that I had in the past when I had to like really plan my meals around working out. And I didn't really understand what the body can do with certain supplements and additives, things like that. And then there's a post workout, which helps with recovery, which I don't feel super sore and like slam the day after. Like I can't go to the gym for 2 days or 3 days. And so all that together has been great. Certainly have slid the last, 2 weeks or so. I might have got one little workout in, as we talked about, but it's like, we can't let this gap derail us from, the routine that we've been establishing. And, this year is going to be really cool. And I think we're both going to be able to get to revisit what that looks like, at certain periods throughout the year, as well as our accountability, and hopefully a year end big time change can inspire other people to get out and do the same thing, make a change, put in the time. The physical fitness benefit of working out not only helps you with sleep and your mental state, but I always make sure to do a lot of activities where I'm squatting and maybe holding weights like I would be with the PCC. Like being erect and shooting, it just kills time, and it kills your stability and your sight pictures. And so I try to think about every activity that I can do with some sort of USPSA benefit, regardless of the discipline. And that's just another aspect of making it interesting. So going to the gym and throwing certain sets around and leaving like that, I would get so bored. I've always been bored with that. And so getting to mix it up with whether it's racquetball, running around, doing different things, that's been fun. And knowing that I've got to be accountable to you, and knowing that I can't go but so long without seeing, 1, 2, 3 videos of you sending me something, like, damn it, I gotta go, and knowing that I'm fueling you in whatever way that you're receiving that, like that's encouraging to me. So that's been really cool how we got to start this friendship, and now here I am on your podcast.
Well, yeah, it's cool, and it's nice because someone's going on that same journey as you are. You have lost more weight than I have, I will say, but it's probably purely for me. It's a dietary thing too. Like I like to cook. This is like my like other than shooting, and doing this podcast, my passion is cooking. Like,
yeah, same.
And it's like I my wife doesn't cook. Not that she's not she's a bad cook, but she doesn't cook.
Yeah.
So, and I'm the one who cooks, and I really enjoy it. And it's hard to also it's hard to be a little more conscious of what you're eating, and how much you're gonna want to eat, because it's like, oh, it's so good, I want to eat some more, and then it's like, no, you gotta pump the brakes there, chunky butt.
Yeah. Portion control has been a big thing for me. I keep a few, like 1.5 liter smart water bottles that I actually reuse. I'm super blessed in Lynchburg, Virginia. our tap water is delicious, at least at my house. Like I've been in houses where I'm like, I don't know about the piping, but man, our water is delicious. And I keep, like a chain of those in the refrigerator so that I always have cold water. And so drinking a lot of water when you feel hungry, man, it really eliminates those false signals where you end up snacking, whether it's late or just throughout the day. And that's made my appetite smaller. So like if I get a burger and fries somewhere like I did yesterday, halfway through the burger and halfway through the fries, I'm taking it to go. And I ate it for dinner today. And so creating a smaller stomach by using water for hunger signals versus just more food and more snacks. It's been a neat byproduct of being hydrated and being healthy, and then not eating as much. So I encourage viewers and listeners to try that as well. If they're like, man, I've tried everything. I even think I'm eating healthy, but I'm not really losing any weight. Try water.
Yeah, staying hydrated is super important too, even from like a competitive standpoint, right? Like,
oh yeah,
if you always are hydrated, there's no reason to have to power chug water before matches and try
or during a match.
Yeah, but also during a match, you gotta supplement with some electrolytes and
that's right.
all that. But I can't do cold water. I don't know if it's just a thing. Like I can't drink it. It won't. My body's like, no, it's just like it's cold. You don't want it. Don't drink it. But I will drink. I've got gallon jugs. Like we have the coffee water. We have the distilled water we buy for the coffee maker. But after we empty that, I'm like, this is mine. And then like I'll rotate them for about a couple weeks, and then I'll give them to the dog and let them play with it. And then I get a new one. And But then I fill that with my delicious tap water because I'm too lazy to like hold it up to the refrigerator. That's got one of those things. And it's like, no, this ain't worth it. But But yeah, then I drink room temp water, which I can.
Well, and that absorbs faster. Cold water burns more calories. So it's like whatever choice you make mentally, that's great. Commit to it. Just drink more water. Like like for a while I did alkaline water. So like I would go to this health store near my office that could do anywhere from 8.5 pH to 9.5 to 11, which 11 is more for like cleaning stuff. Like I drank 11 pH and my kidneys started hurting. I was like, I'm gonna stick to that 9.5. But like to me, that was the game that got me started into drinking a lot of water. And now I'm just like, hey man, tap water's cool, and I prefer it cold because it's refreshing. And eventually it's I mean, this isn't cold now. It's been out for an hour or two, but I mean, regardless of how you do it, whether it's squirt a little lemon in or get one of those little like fruit squeezer thingies, like anything you can do to make drinking water interesting, depending on your personality and attention span, great, do it. That's for sure. That's important.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But staying hydrated is super important. I think people will feel better about themselves, even just that fact of just hydrating themselves and not being dehydrated. Your piss shouldn't have to be freaking neon yellow, guys. It's gotta
right.
Like there's a problem at that point.
That's right.
But at that point, if you're already dehydrated, if that's the case and you're already thirsty, you're already dehydrated, and that's the problem. Like, and for me, like lately, I don't know what it's been like. I've been drinking. I'll drink water all day, but then like at dinner, I'll have like a drink of something, and that's usually what that clinches me, and it's like, eh. But I will say that if you already feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated, and I know for me, like at night, I drink water all day, but at night, like I'll have a drink of something, like usually it's a juice or something, and I know it's horrible for me, but I enjoy the apple juice. Don't it's apple juice or something, and it's usually whatever in the damn fridge.
Sure.
Fun fact: I went to Sam's Club today, and now they have fresh daily squeezed orange juice, and they had samples of it. And it was really good. So it was like it was $10 a bottle, but I was like, I'll try this. But yeah, like that's always like kind of my crutch. But like I was thinking about doing some supplements and whatnot, like some recovery stuff, and try to just like replace my lunch. Like I go to the plant every day, and like I'll sit down and have like a meal, but I run out of time. I just don't have time to sit down and have this meal or sit down and eat. And I'd be like, I was thinking about, well, maybe I'll get a meal replacement so then I at least get some calories, but then not, have to sit down and eat. But I haven't tried that yet. So yeah. What else do I got? Oh, I know. Well, we'd probably all like to tell our past selves to get in shape before now. But
Sure.
what is something that you would like to tell, about shooting? What would you like to tell past you about shooting that you know now?
Yeah, I thought about that in advance of this because you've asked everybody. I would definitely tell myself a year ago to plan to be at nationals last year. Just knowing, you know, uh, understanding. Well, I didn't think I would be at the level that I'm at mentally now, and I wasn't that far off a year ago, but I think everybody doesn't know what they don't know. And so, getting training, getting individual one-on-one coaching, however it is, no one levels up by going to the range and burning through 250 rounds, doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Um, you know, being being open to learning at locals from your squad mates, from people you haven't shot with, from people are better shooters. Um, at least a year ago, I would tell myself, Mike, do whatever it takes, skip a couple majors if you have to, but get to nationals while you're an A-class shooter. And I still may be by this nationals. I'm not certainly not promoting myself before that happens, but I think statistically, based on my match results and my classifier results, since I've gotten a Da Vinci, it's going to be really hard to not be in master by the time nationals roll around. And of course, there's a ton of masters that should be GMs, and like every class, right? So at least a year ago, I would tell myself prepare for Nationals 2022 because that's probably going to be your best chance to take home some hardware. And who knows what opportunities that might open up for sponsors and for your future fellow teammates, all those kind of things. The first, like, starting shooting, whether it was limited or any division, I would give myself and any other newer shooter advice: take the tablet, learn the range commands, run the timer, be down range after every shooter. You Once you know what to look for, you will learn so much by running, pretty much all the shooters until maybe you're in the hole or the deep hole. Running shooters on the timer or being downrange scoring, understanding how to reset the props, understanding the mechanics of the stage behind the barrels, behind the walls. You can learn so much about your stage planning and even your stage execution by being more part of the squad and being downrange. um a great example of this was January 1st. So New Year's Day was the first Saturday of 2022, so just over a year ago.
Mhm.
And Sir Walter had a pretty light match. The registration was light. Understandably, New Year's Day, right? A lot of people are drinking the night before. Not a lot of people squatted for January 1st. I mean, I think they still had or 6 of 7 squads were full, but nonetheless, I messaged Robert Walker, who's the match director. Amazing guy, amazing shooter as well, and his son's wicked awesome, Dylan. But I messaged him and said, "Hey, I noticed that like the match is a little light. Would you mind if I shot 2 divisions? And I'll pay twice, obviously." And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine. It's light. I know you carry your weight on the squad, whatever." So I shot PCC and open in the same day, and because PCC was more of my main squeeze, I told the squad, "Hey, I'm going to be the first shooter on every stage with PCC, and that way I don't get an advantage by rolling through alphabetically or whoever we sorted the tablet to shoot open and learning something like, ooh, I would attack the swinger that way, or I would activate paper back, or whatever it was, right? I didn't want to give myself an unfair advantage for the better of my 2 divisions." And you've interviewed Matthew Wolf before on your
Mhm.
podcast. Well, his dad Brian, when I first got there, he's like, "You're shooting 2 divisions," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, you're gonna be such a drag on the squad." Like, he's just giving me a hard time, right? Like, how are you gonna smash mags and be a part of the squad and 2 divisions and right? And I was like, "I'm gonna prove you wrong." And
Mhm.
sure enough, by the end of the day, he's like, "Whoa, dude, you ran the tablet or timer the whole time. All you did was smash mag for your division after you shot, and you were downrange with your pacer gun and all that kind of stuff." He's like, "That was cool. Like, I take it back." And I really, and that's not like a praise on me. It's an encouragement for shooters to be downrange, learn the tablet. If you've got vision problems, like a lot of people like, man, I can't run the tablet. I can't see it. That's fine. Learn the range commands. It's make ready, you
Mhm.
know, are you ready? Stand by, 1 to 4 seconds, beep, right? There's none of this shooter ready. Do you understand the course of fire? I don't know where people get this stuff from. I guess it's other than, 2 gun or 3 gun, maybe have different range commands, but learn them and you benefit so much from being downrange.
Mhm.
And people that sit back and just talk and take notes, or I don't know what people are doing, because I'm always downrange and I enjoy that. I also enjoy being downrange with my sponsors all over me and having my arm in people's videos the whole time for my sponsors, a little side benefit. But I know that was a long answer, but I would definitely tell my early self, be more involved with the squad, be downrange more, because there are dividends that you get as a shooter that you don't realize. And it was really punctuated this past month at Sir Walter. There was a mouse trap that left the head box open. And a good buddy of mine from town that I normally ride in matches with, he activated, had something go wrong with his gun, and bailed on it like it was two no penalty mics. And what he got was a procedural and 2 mics because the head box was still open. And he didn't notice that. And you would have noticed that if you're downrange setting up, or you're running the tablet, or you're running the timer. And I think he maybe missed the stage brief, but still, it's no excuse. It's like, all right, come on, you got your walkthrough, whatever. So that's my go back in time advice.
Mhm. That's actually a good one too, and I do agree with you. Take the tablet, take the timer, paste, be involved with the squad. Um, I did hear at my at the local steel challenge match we had yesterday. It was there was this one particular squad as I kept walking by with this one guy, and it was, "Are you ready? Stand by beep, stand by beep."
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
"Your standby does not count your 1 to 4 seconds." Like,
yeah,
you could have the longest standby, I don't care, but give me another 1 to 4 seconds. But
yeah.
I
And
made
and
note.
don't be the same every time, right? It
Yeah.
can't be, are you ready? Stand by, beep. And if I'm the RO and you know it every time, in your PCC, that safety is starting to get pressed. That,
Hmm.
like, it's like, all right, you got to mix it up. Count in your head, 1, 2, beep, 1, 2, 3, beep. That's just me. And on the steel challenge note, I do see value in that now as a more experienced shooter. I did not as a new shooter. I'm like, dude, stand here, hit the steel. We've got a team member on Da Vinci, Kylie Wells. She's a minor, and she is like, ding, 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 ding. And I'm like, what just happened? Like the eye movement that you learn from Steel Challenge, I see so much benefit to now, and I didn't understand that as an earlier shooter. So maybe that'd be some more advice. It's like mix in Steel Challenge when you understand what you're looking for. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, the how much you available target you can get away with on steel challenge and
yeah,
transitions and ice. There's a lot.
oh
Like,
yeah,
and you think you're a good shooter, but you go get your butt kicked by some kids shooting steel
oh
challenge.
yeah,
It's like, oh my lord.
oh yeah.
But yeah, cool. I guess we're getting near the end because other than the time frame, and we're near my list of questions, which is a good thing too. Um, the sponsors, we've talked about them a little bit during the show, but
Mhm.
who are they? And so we can give them some love.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my first sponsor is Redline Oil. Got to know them from being in the racetrack, road racing circles, and any vehicle is an investment, even though it's a depreciating investment. But what you don't want to do is have components on that fail and go bad prematurely, or not prolong their life if you can. And redlineoil.com is where you can find every single product for your engine oil, transmission fluid, power steering, your differential fluids, your brake line fluids, water wetter for your radiators to run cooler so you get better gas mileage because your intake temperatures are lower. Redline oil is the best synthetic oil product on the market. And so, regardless of whether you have a work truck or a track toy, a two-stroke motorcycle, a jet ski, watercraft, they've got it all. So, go visit Redline Oil to put the best product in your vehicles and toys to protect them. I mean, even my lawnmower, I run on Redline Oil. It's just like that's one less thing to worry about, is having something seize up because some old cheap stuff that came in it from Lowe's goes bad. So Redline Oil's my longest sponsor. Want to thank them a whole lot. Definitely want to thank Da Vinci. Team Da Vinci Machining. I was able to join them in, I think, September, and I shoot with a really great bunch of shooters there. David, the owner, is super generous. He's super flexible. He will build a build to whatever spec you want. He also has thumb rests for open guns. So it's got this great multi-positional thumb rest based on your hand size, based on your preference. Obviously, you can mount it anywhere on your gun. Your gunsmith can. I just put mine on recently. Once PCC is really flowing out of his machine shop, expect to see some open guns, expect to see some limited guns. He's got some real cool sight block stuff that he's been working on. Super innovative, just great customer support. There's no doubt that if you buy a Da Vinci product of any kind, you're going to have everything you need supported and taken care of. And it really is the performance PCC. It runs, it eats everything. It's built to perform. And then lastly, of my official sponsors, Summit City Bullets. They've got these great high-tech coated bullets, mainly red. He's moved into black now. I love to shoot their 160 grain, which are super long. I like to think of it as I call it 356 blackout because it's like a 40 grain, 40 weight bullet neck down to a 9mm case. Because 160 is pretty heavy. That's what works for me. And I think you could talk to any PCC shooter, and you're gonna have everything from 110 grains flying down range to 160 and everything in between. And if there was one bullet weight and buffer combo that was perfect, everybody be using it. And so everything comes down to preference. And Summit City has everything you need for pretty much every caliber bullet for reloaders. And they're moving into black as well as their red. And then I want to thank David Wampler for being my personal training coach. He's available for one-on-one coaching all throughout Area 8 and maybe into Area 6, depending on his schedule. He's also running group classes, the GW Collab, which is with Kevin Grosby. They're both super high-level GM open shooters and have a whole lot to offer. I've taken one of their classes, and it's really great for intermediates. Then one-on-one can come out of that. And then I want to thank my family. My wife is super supportive, let me run away first and third weekends and then for majors, and her watching the kids while I'm gone. And I think that's it. Oh, I did want to say on the Summit City Bullets thing, Tony, the owner there, has set up a special promotional code for shooters that have listened to this podcast. If you use code MTS for Manny Talks Shooting, MTS 10%, you'll get 10% off your orders for perpetuity. So if listeners stayed around this long and you're into reloading, go find your bullet profile, your bullet weight, and the coating that you like, and code MTS 10% will get you 10% off Summit City Bullets. So that's it on sponsors so far.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. And I'll make sure that we definitely plug that code. And I do know a couple other Summit City Bullet guys, so that's kind of nice too. So yeah. I'll have to reach out to him and thank him because that's awesome for the listeners. And well, shit, where else can they, if they want to talk to you personally, where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, but it's primarily family stuff and food recipes. So if you do want some food recipes, Manny, you can, just look me up there. I'm Mike Sharrett, Lynchburg, Virginia. I'll typically have a profile picture of my kids or my family or something like that. I don't really put any shooting stuff on there. Instagram is really where you can find me for anything shooting related or track related, Redline Oil related. I am the _ Money Mike, Money Mike, because I'm a financial advisor. So when you think money, think Mike. So the _ Money Mike, look me up. I'll have a little go fast, don't suck kind of caricature of me with my limited gun as my profile picture. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it. That's more of like a push notification to get major news outlet stuff. So I'd say mainly Instagram is where you can find me.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, Mike. Well, brother, thank you for coming on. This has been a blast. We get to learn a bit more about each other and share our little journey with people. And we'll have to do it again at some point, I'm assuming. That's
heck
for
yeah,
sure.
man.
Yeah,
heck yeah. Thanks, Alex.
No problem. For the listeners, thanks for checking it out and staying out this long. Until next time, get out and do the things, and I'll see you on the next one.